In case you're joining us, this is part 2 of Jason's phenomenal bedroom studio tour. Please to enjoy. All right, I've got the camera in the back corner on a bedside table because even though it is a master bedroom, it's just you can only get far enough back. So I've come to realize over the years, I love working with a U around me. So if I'm facing this way, I like having my piano keyboard here, computer keyboard down low, and then something off to the left and something off to the right. I just kind of end up emulating that one way or the other. As you saw in the other studio photo, I basically did the same thing. And my actual desk that is going to be in the finished studio, which is the same desk I had in my old studio, is also a giant U. I just like the table space. So right now what I've got is some synthesizers over here, pedals and rack gear over here, and then one of my 2 racks here. The second one is behind a door. You can see the orange cable going. Those are my MKII cables. So that's what's carrying the audio basically from the interface where everything's plugged in over to the computer, which all 4 computers are in the other room because they're just too loud to be in here. So I thought maybe I would start over here and work my way across and then give you some details on this rat's nest of a studio that has been assembled piece by piece over the last like 12 months. Okay, I figured we'd start with the interface because this is really the most important part of my whole entire rig. So these interfaces are what have the MKII cables coming out of them. And each one is 32 channels. So this is 32 channels in, 32 channels in, 32 channels out, 32 channels out. So it means that collectively I've got 64 channels in, which are all of these meters, 64 channels out, which are all of these meters. Right now, just for reference, I'm looping a 4-bar thing in Cubase from something that I was working on yesterday. So input and output 1 and 2, this is output 1 and 2, that's my master mix. Everything else you see is basically some sort of audio being routed out of the computer and into a pedal or effects box of some kind, or it's just a synthesizer being routed into the computer. And that's why I really need all of these channels. I considered getting a mixing board, but it seemed a little silly because I'd still have to mix everything down to 2 tracks. I needed the input and the output. So this way I can use whatever guitar pedals, external synths, external reverbs or delays, compression, EQ. I can have everything lined up individually on its own in and out this way. And they're all actually in a template in Cubase. So if I want to use a specific thing, I already have it set up as a hardware insert in Cubase, which is super cool. So up here I've got 2 of my 4 Bricastis, which I just absolutely love. They sound amazing on everything. So another big part of the in and out is what I have on my master bus. And I run vertically from top to bottom into a bus compressor. This is the MKII 2500. You can see I've got the mix running, and that's actually a little too much compression. Let's pull that down. Usually only 2 or 3 dB of compression on the master bus, and then the Manley Massive Passive after the compressor, so the Manley's really shaping the compressed signal. And I've also got a Clariphonic, which I love for the top end. It's right down here. Real nice sparkle on the Clariphonic. So just below the Manley, here's the Clariphonic. A couple of compressors. These Distressors are incredible on drums, but also on bass guitar or really anything else. I use them when I'm playing flutes as well. Just really transparent compression. A lot of times, I think I have them both set 10:1, which is essentially emulating like an LA2A. Now this 500V, eventually I will have 5 compressors and 5 EQs. It's just, I don't have enough cables, believe it or not, even with 64 ins and outs. I don't have enough audio cabling to physically connect everything. So I only got these out. These are the ones that I could connect. I've got some other compressors. These are amazing. They're basically like LA3As in a 500 series. Then I have some 1176s that go here. and then the rest are API EQs, the 550As, and then the parametric one, I can't remember what it's called. But the idea is I've got 5 channels of compression, 6, 7, and then I've got 5 channels of EQ, 6, 7, so that as I'm tracking live instruments, I compress them and then I EQ them. And it saves on processing power down the road. It sounds better, and let's face it, knobs are just more fun to turn. And down here at the bottom, this is my Avocet, which is all of my monitoring, so I can switch between my speakers and mute, dim, phase invert, mono compatibility, all that stuff. And then that's the Analog Heat Mark II, which I absolutely love. I haven't used it as a 2-track mastering thing, but it's stereo compression and I use it all the time, especially in conjunction with the filter, and the LFO is really, really nice to get some cool modulation. All right, I'm going handheld now because we're really close to the ground. But these are the API summing boxes, essentially. So I've got 24 channels of API summing that is racked up, but again, not plugged in because of lack of cables. Maybe you sense a theme there. The Hearback system is fantastic for headphones. This one's a little old school, but I still use it all the time. And then that's actually essentially the controller for the Avocet. One of the big things I really love doing is recording live instruments, especially me poorly banging on live instruments. So I've got another 8 or 12 mic pre's that are currently boxed up. They're all API, and that's for basically drums and other percussion things. This is like my color box of mic pre's. So the idea is the other things around the room, like maybe cello or harp or guitar that I might want to record, I kind of have a Crayola box of colors from the mic pre's. Like right now, I think this is bass guitar maybe, and this is on input. This is my SM8 right here, which is why the lights are moving. Normally this was guitar and this is bass guitar. So I'd use the DI input on those to go straight into the computer. But I can also use it as a mic pre. These are really good for ribbons, AEA made specifically, and AEA is an amazing ribbon mic company. So they have an extra ridiculous like 24 or 36 dB of gain on them that you can crank up if you don't have something like a cloud lifter for your ribbon mic. And then the Avitas, just a classic pair of really great sounding mic pre's. The APIs are probably my favorite, very American, upfront mid-range, crunchy. This is basically like a 1073 Neve preamp, and then this is a Magnum, which I just like the meter and everything. So I bought these kind of in the order that you see them when I had my first studio. There's nothing sadder than an empty rack, so you always want to fill it up as quickly as you can. The idea is I go into the mic pre, and then in Cubase, I come out of the mic pre and I go into a compressor, which was down there, like the Distressor or one of the LA3As in the 500 series. And then it comes out of that compressor and goes into an EQ, out of the EQ and into the computer. And that's when it gets recorded. So when I'm recording, I'm literally printing that whole signal and really don't have to do much to it once it's finished. That's saved me a lot of time. It's a little hard to tell, but this is the rat's nest that is the back of the interfaces. So you can see, especially with the red sheathing on the cables, the beautiful thing about these interfaces is they have D-sub connectors. So this will take 8 channels either in or out, depending on which interface you're hooked up to. And it's doing it in a snake, and then there's a breakout at the end. So you can plug in that way, or it has the independent TRS inputs and outputs. So those are balanced 1/4 inch ins and outs. And that is not why I bought them, but that is the only reason I've been able to hook everything up the way I have, because my patch bays are not finished. And this way I can run cables literally straight from the instruments or the sort of hyper pumped guitar pedals into the back of the interface, because they're balanced and they're able to take either kind of audio signal without needing to DI everything, which would be pretty much impossible given all the ins and outs that I have. This has been my default setup for about a year now. I used to have a TV kind of up here in the middle on the wall behind me. Right now there's a window with a very wrinkled sun-blocking curtain over it. But, you know, we all do what we have to, right? And I am literally sitting on the bed right now and can probably stick out my foot and you can see it. So that shows you it's a bit of a tight space, but it's totally working for me. I've got an old Phantom keyboard and I do love the Cubase 121 controller. It works great with Cubase. What do you know? I'm using Metagrid on the iPad and use that all the time. I've got all my custom commands set. And I do a lot of key commands from the computer keyboard as well. But the ones I end up doing a lot of, I want to put up on Metagrid, just so I'm reaching for something different besides a keyboard and a mouse. ATC speakers, Samsung curved monitors, nothing incredibly unique happening here. I am running PCs, but I was on Macs forever, so I've got a Mac computer keyboard and a turbo mouse, which I literally could not live without. Okay, so I think that's enough for now. Next time we will wrap it up with part 3. See you then.